Hey folks, it is May 10th, 2023, back here at Boardwalk Hall. The Swell high pressure blower is down for service right now, and they've set up for Stockton University's graduation ceremony, so there's not playing the organ much right now this week. But I'm going to answer a question that some of you have had about something here at the console, and that is, well, what is this thing? What is that? Well, most of the time people say correctly, oh, that's the telephone system. But it's actually a little bit more than that, and it's kind of interesting. So let's take a look into that. Now I'm going to stand up on the organ bench. I'm going to get a close-up of what this thing actually is, because it's actually not exactly what I thought. This is a dictograph intercom system. Now looking at it from a ways away, I always thought that this was a telephone dial, and I didn't know what the other thing was. I thought maybe there was something missing there, but actually that is a desktop unit, and it's recessed into the console. If you were to go behind the console, you'd see the rest of this just kind of hanging off the back there. This is the microphone, and this is the speaker. It was meant to be used without a handset, hands-free if you like, and there was never any grill or anything over the speaker outlet there. It was always just a hole in the wood, which seems like an odd design choice, but there you go. So let's take a little deeper dive into this system. This is the backstage area of the hall. The front of the hall, I mean the stage is behind the curtains there where they're setting up. But I'm going to show you something on this panel. Now, way back there, that's the original lighting panel for all the theatrical controls and stage lighting controls for the auditorium. And boy, what a piece of work that is. So I'm going to climb up there via a ladder, and there's a little connection to the organ up there. So up here from this balcony kind of area, you have this amazing original Westinghouse lighting panel. I mean, it's amazing, and you can see how they label things: Georgia or Mississippi, judges and talent, obviously what that was used for. But that little sign actually wasn't what I was going to. Here we have part of the intercom system. To make a call, press button opposite name of party desired, all the way down for a few seconds, then remove the receiver from the hook. To answer a call, press home button down until it locks, then remove the receiver from hook. And you have all these locations, okay? And look what's right there. Organ console, along with stagehand's corridor, music balcony, dressing room corridor 7, dressing room 2, manager's office, superintendent's office, picture booth, etc. Now it just goes to show you how important the organ was back in the day. It was as important as the superintendent's office. And then here we have buzzers to get the attention of whoever you're trying to call. And this is where this is where the handset used to go. So from here, you would be able to contact the organ console or any of these other locations. And that's part of what that system is on top of the 7 manual. Now let's take a closer look at the way the dictaphone system worked. So here are 2 units which I borrowed from the administrative office of HORC. There were lots of these throughout the building. The organ wasn't the only one. You had multiple systems and subsystems within the building. This particular system appears to have been used for election coverage at some point, or when an election was going on or some sort of event, because the various switches which connect you to the various substations, this is a master station and this is a substation, and they actually are labeled that way. They're labeled Inner OD Candidate Organ, there's organ again, Lect-R, I guess that's lecture or lectionary, Tyler, Lead K, Projection Room, Loyal K, Election, and Secretary. The substation has corresponding labels on it. It says Loyal K, Secretary, Lectionary, Organ, etc. So the basics of the way this was used, and I know there's more to it. I'm going to be very basic about it here, is that say the substation wanted to call the master station. So let's say you're at the console and somebody in the dressing room wanted to call you and say, hey, go ahead and start the procession or something. They would pick up the receiver off the hook. This is your earpiece, that's the microphone, and you would flip the switch to whatever position of whatever place you want to contact, and this one goes two directions. You can flip up for one or down for one, where all of these are just one location. The substation can do both, condensed into smaller switches. And then you use the red button and it springs back, and that's the ringer. And you go, hey, try and get a hold of you, and it would make the light up and a buzzer buzz. Now, I don't see any indicator lights in here, but maybe there were. I'm not sure about that. I didn't understand it from the one video that I saw, but somehow they can see that it's this station, so they would flip up, connect to this station to talk, and talk, and talk. And then you talk to each other. Okay, we're done, crisis averted. Okay, so now we go back. There was a headset here, but this canceller doesn't work, so I guess that had to be done by hand. And on this one, you hang the receiver up on the hook, and it cancels, just like an organ does. So you could call from the master to a substation, you could call from substation to a master, you could have a 3 conference, but no more than that, from what I've seen. Also, this was intended to be hands-free. This is the microphone, and this is the speaker, but it was provided with an earphone, so that if you wanted a private conversation, you could have it. If you pick this up, it would cut out the speaker, I guess, and route it to the earphone. So this was built by Dictograph, and they lasted for many years. I think the company may still actually be in business, but doing other things. But there you have it. There's the intercom system, and it's as simple as that. Or is it? You knew it couldn't be that simple. Not in this building with this organ, right? So, of course. I'm down here back in the blower room attic, remember that video? And what's down here? Of course, it's more telephone system. But this is organ specific, because it says telephone. It says Master Console 1 and 2. Combination rooms. And then, sorry, move the light around. Choir relay, great relay. Console 1 master. And down here you have portables. And even further down here, with a 6-volt signal right there. And then you have this big junction, which is also related to the telephone. And if you read in between here, it says console, great, and it says shell relay. It doesn't say swell, it looks like it says shell, maybe it's swell. And then COM and RMS. So this appears to be a separate telephone system for the organ. And if you look down here, I'm looking down toward the blower there. What's that right there? That's a telephone. Zoom in on it. That's just a regular telephone, and it is hooked in to the organ telephone system that's up here. If you follow that line up, it comes to where I'm sitting now. Now, as far as the power, I guess this was a power junction because you can't see it underneath all those wires, but it says 1 with nothing, then 2 negative and 3 positive up there. And that cable goes here and it snakes along, and it snakes along, and then it goes to this junction under here, and that's where it ends. It's just cut off. So the dictaphone system used a lot of wiring, but the organ system did not seem to, and I'll show you that here in a minute. Down here in one of the combination action rooms are one of the telephone outlets which are typical for the installation in the rest of the organ, and honestly I don't quite understand this because all these plugs are very uniform, like that one, and it actually says telephone organ. I'm going to get my little flashlight here. And it says MA33, and they all have different numbers. The black numbers on the bottom are different and unique for each outlet. But you see that that's just a 3-prong plug, okay? And if we come around back here, there is a junction board that says, up at the top it says DIC period system, which I presume means dictograph. And then the bottom 2 pins, it says portable tel 1 and 2. And you can see that this is organ junction style wiring. This is not something that was done as an afterthought. It appears that this was done pretty much as the organ was being built, so they were considering that at the same time. What I don't understand is if you only have 3 wires, how do you know how to connect to anybody else? And what was the master for the organ system? Because it probably wasn't the console master control that you saw at the beginning of the video. I'm not sure. But I know that a lot of you out there watching this video are into old electronics and old telephone systems and things like that, and I invite you to come into the comments section. Yes, that's something I usually don't do. I'm saying come on into the comments and talk about vintage telephone systems and intercoms, and if you have any insight, let's hear it, because I'd like to know more about it, because this is not something that I'm very familiar with. So with that, I'm going to wrap this up, and this is the end of part 1. On to part 2. Imagine it's 1930, and you're installing the largest organ in the world, located in 8 chambers all over this enormous auditorium. And there's no such thing as a cell phone, and there's probably not walkie-talkies either. And you need to be able to tune stuff as you're working on it because the main console hasn't been installed yet. So what do? That's right, you install lots and lots of remote keyboards. That's why I call this working remotely. So we're going to do a little survey of the remote keyboards which still exist, and I think it's pretty much all of them. And it's interesting to see the different types they use. I categorize them as 3 types. And I'm up here behind the swell division, with the first one, which controlled the swell and pretty much everything on the left side except the galleries. So here it is right here. And notice that a lot of these keyboards had 73-note manuals, the remote keyboards. So this was for the left side main chamber. And if you look closely, you have units, mixtures, the swell, straight stops of the swell, and then you have unenclosed choir, string 1, and then I think that's part of the swell choir, and then you have choir there, enclosed choir going down that side, and then you have all the mutations of the swell choir, right? And then over here, you have pedal left all the way down to the big 32s and everything. I mean, there's Bombard 32 right there. If you can imagine playing that from a little keyboard like this, it'd be pretty interesting. So this keyboard uses the Midmerlosh used a number of types of click down or hitch down little spring accessories. And so if you look here, you can take one and hitch it down. There's like a bent over brad or something. It's like nails with heads on them. And so you just take it. Oh, couldn't get that one to work. Sorry, the light isn't too good. There, you hitch it down under the feed and let it go. Hitch it down under the feed and let it go like that. So that one person can be key holding and another person working in the chamber. You still wouldn't be able to tune stuff by yourself, or it would be pretty difficult even with this to tune by yourself. But two people in one chamber could do it very easily. I opened up this thing, and all there is just one junction for the key contacts, and there is a giant knife switch over on the right-hand side. I just do to disconnect the feed from this. And it has its own little roll top. And it looks as if it may have been built just for this purpose. I'm not sure, but I can't see that it was salvaged from anything else per se. Now, the legs on it, wonder where that came from. And it's on casters, so you could roll it around. And of course, this used to go to the swell main relay, but it only took a cable that big. So this is what I think of as type 1. The fancier ones with the typed out labels and the hitch downs that are all nicely made in the factory with the feed wires like that. Let's look at another one. Okay, boy would I do for YouTube videos. I'm in the gallery 3 and 4 chamber, and the lights are out in here, so I've just got my flashlight. And the tuning keyboard for this division is kind of one of these in-between jobs. So also 73 notes, you see that, but the stop controls are these kind of rotating pins that don't hitch down, they rotate onto the feed wire. You see that? This one does not have, oh come on focus, this does not have the nice typewritten labels. And because gallery 3 and 4 don't have a lot of unification and the number of stops just isn't that great, it's a fairly simple keyboard. But again, it has that other style, which, okay. See, that's the on position. You turn it just to make the little hook touch the feed wire. And that turns the stop off. So this keyboard controls galleries 3 and 4. All right, now let's go directly across the auditorium and see what happens in galleries 1 and 2. And here we have gallery 1 and 2. Now, this is the style that they used in the fanfare, at least, I think maybe the Echo, I'm not sure. But you see that that's a 61 note keyboard, and they provided, get the light better, 16, I presume that's a unison off, I'm not sure, 8 and 4 foot couplers so that you could extend beyond the range of the 61 note keyboard. So I figure that's probably salvaged from somewhere because all the other ones are 73. And this controls galleries 1 and 2, so there you see all the flute stops. And then starting here we have gallery 1. Now I'd like you to pay attention to one thing here that I noticed, and that is that the stops which come on as one stop at the console, these mixtures, like you see the cornet right in front of me there, you have cornet 8, 5 1/3, 4, 2 2/3, 2, 1 1/3, and 1. You notice that they're all available individually. They're not available individually at the console, but somehow they wired it so that you could have them available individually from the tuning keyboards, which is interesting. There's your 100-inch stops right there. And I guess that's for your primaries. And notice that this has the tourney style stops. And they actually put the rank card for Gallery 1, the little ID card, on this keyboard. And interestingly, I mean, obviously you look at these, and these are either from an old tracker organ or a reed organ, and they've just been cut off. And if you were to look underneath here, you would find regular Reasoner mid-Mirage switches activated mechanically by these draw knobs. And this, it's actually kind of clever. This entire top part actually lifts off for service. This bottom part is separate from here, and it actually just sits down over the keyboard and works that way. Again, on wheels, on a little dolly. So now we're working our way back toward the organ shop and the right main chamber. Next stop is brass chorus and string 2. Here in the upper level of string 2 in the right forward chamber, if you've seen my right side chambers tour video, you'll recognize this, and I actually showed this in that video, but this is one of the what we call hitch down style remote keyboards. I went again in a little more detail this time. So I guess the light's good enough without the flashlight. So you have what are obviously stop actions along the back row and keys along the front, and it's so clever. I love this because they just took phosphor bronze contacts and put a feed wire down here, and you just snap it down and release. So you put on a stop, snap down, and there your note's being held. Whoop, that one let go. We'll hold it, and so on. Now I was wondering, how do you know what stops there are? Well, I think they used to be written back here on this strip, but this has gotten so water damaged that there's nothing there anymore. But I'm pretty sure everything used to be written out there. And interestingly, there's another feed mechanism back here with sort of a hitch down system, but a different hitch down system, and I'm not sure what this was for. Oh, wait a minute, I see writing on there. 287, 287, 282. Maybe those were ranks of a mixture, I'm not sure. I can't remember voice numbers in this thing that well. Anyway, this style of remote keyboard, let me turn my flashlight off here. There's one here, there was one in the solo, and there was one in the enclosed choir. Even though the enclosed choir played from that bigger remote keyboard in the beginning of the video, it also had its own hitch down style like this. So now let's go to the organ shop and see the big one. So if you've ever been on the organ tour in Boardwalk Hall, you walk in from the mezzanine there, and you see people working on stuff like Nathan and Nick and Jonathan are over there polishing some, are those clarinets?
Yes, solo clarinet.
Solo clarinet, which is going to be fantastic. You turn to your left, and there is the granddaddy of them all. This is the biggest tuning keyboard that there is. You could call it a three-bolster tuning keyboard because it has 3 rows. And you can see that they went to a lot of trouble on this one because the stop names are all nicely typed out, and it has the rotating type of switch. Let's get the flashlight here. And so this controls a lot of organ. I mean, you have string 2, actually. This is controlling string 2. In addition to that hitch down I showed you over there, it has string 2 included over here, and grand great, and regular grate, which is all through here. And again, look right there, there's the Grand Cornet 11 ranks with all the toe boards separated. And they even wrote it on the wood beneath it. And there's brass chorus there, and then extra. Action, shades, sept, and terts for something. So this is controlling the solo and the grate and the gallery divisions on this side. So this one had a lot of work to do. And it was actually connected up until several years ago. Boy, you know, looking at it in the video viewfinder like this, it looks like some sort of weird synthesizer or something. Once again, Emerson Richards was ahead of his time. What can I say? Okay, now I'm going to wrap up this video with the grandest remote keyboard of all. All right, I'm going to wrap up this tour of the remote keyboards with the grandest, most incredible remote keyboard of all in the world's largest organ. Here it is. It's 12 push buttons in a piece of wood. What's this for, you may ask? Well, there is, and I'll have to screw the light bulb back in here. There is a set of Spire flute pipes right there, these guys. 12 notes, which are not connected to anything else than these 12 push buttons on this piece of wood. And the notes are labeled on there, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, and so on. There's 13 of them for 1 octave, and that's all it is. Just a piece of wood with some push buttons in it for this tuning stop. Now these pipes are marked voice number 214 Spire flute, but they don't play from anywhere else. They only play from that little keyboard right there. And why they thought a Spire flute, which doesn't look like a Spire flute to me, it looks more like a harmonic flute without any holes in it. I don't think this has any harmonic holes. Yeah. I guess they had them left over and wanted to use them in here because you couldn't hear anything else. So I'll note that this is the solo great woodwind division, and this has all the nice new shades up there, and all the reeds that you're seeing polished and everything are going into the top level up there, and everything's being restored, and it's really nice. So anyway, there you have it, a tour of the remote keyboards of the organ. I did not feel like climbing up into the echo and fanfare because the one, it's hard to get up there, and two, I know fanfare has one that is 61 notes because it's in my video. Echo, I can't tell if there's one up there or not from the video. I can't imagine that there isn't. I would think there would be, and I just didn't see it, or I just didn't bother to record it, but I'm sure it has one. So add all those up, and there's a lot of extra keyboards in this organ. So from Atlantic City on May 10th, 2023, over and out.